With me now for some analysis, Tanya Miller, a former prosecutor, Paige Pate, a criminal defense attorney in Columbus, Ohio, Douglas Berman, a law professor at Ohio State University. Welcome to all of you. Soon, Paige, that prosecutors will take us through some of what happened in that house, and that's why they have the model of that house in court today.
Right. They will generally do that in a sentencing hearing, especially when the sentence is unknown. Now, in this case, we know exactly the sentence that Castro is going to get, but I think it's important for the prosecution to still go through this evidence. They have a right to do it. Mr. Castro has a right to speak. And so this way, the public is going to get to see more of the evidence that they had developed and were prepared to present at trial if they needed to.
And I just want to warn our viewers before the proceedings begin that what the prosecutors will tell the world now, right, will be tough to hear. I just want to go back to the model of that house because it seems to me so unusual to have something like this in a sentencing hearing. Paige, am I right?
You're right. It's unusual, especially when we already know what the sentence is. Now, if this was something that the judge had to look into the facts, try to figure out what happened to try to impose a sentence that was appropriate for the crime, then it makes sense. And we'll hear an extended sentencing hearing when we don't know what the outcome is. But this is a plea agreement. We all know what the sentence is going to be. This is not necessary. I don't think it's going to help the judge make his decision. Perhaps it's just something the prosecutors want to do, and the victims have consented to it, obviously.
All right, we're going And good morning. I'm Carol Costello. Thanks for joining me this morning. Of course, we're continuing to monitor what's happening in Cleveland, Ohio right now. Inside a courtroom, the sentencing phase is taking place for Ariel Castro, the man accused of holding 3 women hostage for more than a decade. On the stand, well, let me introduce our guests right now. With me now is Tanya Miller, former prosecutor, Paige Pate, a defense attorney, and Doug Berman. He's also a defense attorney and a sentencing expert. He's live in Columbus, Ohio. Also, Dr. Jeff Gardere. He's a psychologist who can help us ferret through some of this very difficult testimony. I want to clue you into exactly what's going on, and I have my panel of experts here to help me do that. And Paige Pate, I'll start with you. So the prosecution is putting a series of witnesses on the stand to prove what?
Well, they're trying to lay out their case. This is almost like a mini trial. It's like they're going through the process of presenting the evidence that they would if the case had gone to trial. Now, normally you would see if the case was going to trial, the defense lawyers standing up and cross-examining these witnesses, but they're just sitting there and they're taking it. They know they have to get through this process. The state has a right to do it, and at some point later in the day, we're going to hear from Mr. Castro.
So defense attorneys, Paige, are sitting there helplessly, listening, watching, and do they want their client to talk?
Usually not, especially if you don't know what the sentence is going to be. Almost anything he can say at this point is not going to help him. It's going to hurt him. You know, normally when I'm listening to this type of evidence, it's the worst time to be a defense lawyer. You're slinking down in your chair. You're saying, let's at least get this over with. But they also have to present a case for Mr. Castro. And I heard the lawyer say earlier, mental illness. We know something's wrong with this man. So I expect when it's their turn, we're going to hear a little bit more.
All right, that was that former detective testifying moments ago, telling or informing the court and all who's listening some of the horrors that went on inside that house. Paige, you had an interesting thought while we were listening to that detective. You said this could all backfire for the state of Ohio. Right. Why?
Right. Well, you can go too far. I understand the district attorney wants to get all this evidence out in front of the people. Everybody can see how bad this guy is. But some folks may start asking themselves, look, if he's this bad, if what he did was this awful, why did you let him plead? Why aren't we pursuing the death penalty in this case? So you got to walk a fine line. Let people know what happened, but don't push it so much that your deal looks like a bad deal for the people of this state.